Hello, my name is Joseph Mornan. I'm the head of learning here at Spunout, and this is just a quick video to introduce you to the Senior Cycle Skill Builder. So, this is one of our courses that's available on the Spunout Academy. It's a free, self directed e learning course that is aligned with Senior Cycle SPHE and Bí Cineálta. So, it's a perfect resource for using in schools, in class, outside of class, to really build conversations around a number of topics that are really relevant to these two pieces of policy, of curriculum. So, in a nutshell, the Senior Cycle Skill Builder is a self directed e learning course. So, it's a course that you can kind of log on to, you can move through at your own pace. It's designed to be modular, so students can pick it up, they can put it down, and it focuses on fostering social and emotional learning. It's really relevant to transition years, but also anyone in senior cycle. It's perfectly suited for, and it's aligned with specific learning outcomes from that new senior cycle SPHE curriculum and from Bí Cineálta as well. So we really, whenever we were developing this, we wanted to develop a resource that would help you kind of address both of these, because as you'll know, there's also a lot of overlap between the two. So Bí Cineálta is frequently referencing SPHE. So this is really what the course looks like. It's divided into 8 sessions. The sessions fall under 4 pillars. In that first pillar, so the first 2 sessions, you're really looking at peer-to-peer active listening, a skill that's really, really relevant for building overall cohesion within school, for building peer support among students, but also for just building healthy communication across uh, the entire kind of school ecosystem. So students here will have an opportunity to learn some verbal and non-verbal active listening skills. They'll also learn about what we call widening the network of support. So there's a difference between having active listening skills and feeling like you have to be someone's sole support or take on any kind of therapeutic role. So this section really distances that, because in reality, a lot of young people, especially in this kind of like senior cycle age range, they're having them friends come to them and share things that are going on in their lives. Some of these topics are quite heavy. A lot of the time they want to support their friends, but they feel a little bit out of their depth, don't know what to say, worry about saying the wrong thing. So that's where this topic comes in here. So we can start with that. Also, it really suits to have these kind of conversations at the beginning of the year. It's kind of a start as we mean to go on. So it's well suited to kind of an induction to kind of start of the year activities. In pillar 2, we move on to the online world. So you'll know kind of from Bí Cineálta and the SPHE, they're both kind of specifically calling out young people's experiences online. So we're looking at harm online that you can encounter, how people are treating you, how you're treating other people. Um, you'll know that young people are really sick of just being heard, of being told kind of like just spend less time online, put the phone down. We know that actually, online spaces actually play a big part in most of our lives. And it's not that easy. But actually, what we can do is help students to build skills that help them manage their time online better, to support themselves, but also to support other people. So it introduces this concept of empathy, which is really relevant across a lot of topics that you'll be exploring within SPHE and in a broader sense. So it looks at empathy and how it works online, how our minds kind of work differently when we're in online spaces sometimes. It also looks at bias and understanding how online spaces can actually feed our biases and how bias can turn into discrimination, how that plays out online. It also talks about how to protect yourself and how to protect others. So, how to take control to make your online spaces safer. And also, what do you do if you're a witness to harm online? If you see someone being harassed, mistreated, what can you do? And what can you do in a way that still protects your own safety? So that's sessions 3 and 4. And then when we go into sessions 5 and 6, pillar 3, it's really moving into that more mental health space. So you're looking at understanding your mental health generally. What is mental health? How does it work? How to tune into your thoughts and feelings, understand how our thoughts feelings, and our behaviors can interact and influence one another, and really looking at biased thought patterns. So it kind of harkens back to pillar two, to the empathy online, and looking at kind of bias and discrimination there, but really it drills down into like, well, how can our thought patterns become faulty? How can you recognize it? And then what do you do? And then finally, pillar four, keeping with that kind of like mental health theme and expanding on it in a number of other ways. It looks at what can you do to maintain your positive mental health? What can you do to support your health and well-being? How to take stock of your coping mechanisms, because like we all use coping mechanisms. A lot of the time we don't even realize that some of our behaviors are things that we're doing to cope with stress and anxiety and the challenges that we're facing, especially when you're moving into senior cycle. You're dealing with a lot of new stress. Your social life is becoming more complex. The demands of the work in school is getting more challenging. Um, so your coping mechanisms really come into play at that age. And if you're having coping mechanisms that are coming with some damaging side effects, you're going to start encountering a lot of that damage because you're going to be reaching for your coping mechanisms more often because you're experiencing more stress. So it's a really timely topic in that fourth pillar. And then the last thing is finding support for your mental health. So everyone talks about reach out, don't keep it in, get support when you need it. There's not as many conversations about, well, these are your support options. These are the things that are on the table for you. This is what it's like to engage with these support options. So that's kind of where the course kind of comes to an end. So the way this works is each session here is designed to be kind of around half an hour long. It takes about half an hour to complete. So you can use these in class, or you can use them outside of class. You can kind of prescribe them as homework or a little bit of extra learning, but it works really nicely in class. If they have access to computers or any kind of device, they can kind of move through these at their own pace. And then you can also bring those topics then into the classroom through group discussion. We have a resource to help you do that as well. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. This you might be wondering, like, where do I get this? Where do I get the senior cycle skill builder? Well, it lives on what we call the Spunout Academy. So this is Spunout's online learning platform for mental health and well-being. So the senior cycle skill builder lives here, but also so do a lot of other courses. So we have other courses that explore a lot of topics around mental health, well-being, skills to kind of support your life. It is a free to use platform. It's open to everyone. You can access it by going to spunout.ie/academy. In a second, I'll show you a little bit more about what the platform looks like and what the course looks like. But for now, you might be wondering as well, like, what's in a Spunout Academy course? What does it contain? Well, all of our courses, they're modular. They've got a lot of different little activities in them. So they're designed to appeal to people who have a lot of different kind of learning styles and approach to learning. But in general, they have four key elements. So there's pieces of concise information. So these are designed to be, as I say, concise, punchy, and giving you a lot of like really practical information on the topic. Then there are expert interviews and explainers. So they feature some of them. I'm in some of them. We have subject matter experts for whatever topic we're covering, and they're answering the key questions that young people have around this topic. We also have lived experience videos. So videos of real young people who are sharing their lived experience on the topics that we're covering. And last, there's interactive activities. These could be quizzes. These could be little reflective exercises, things like that. But they just help solidify the learning. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about, because again, when you're looking at resources, it's really important that you can trust the resources that you're using in class. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our development process. So some of you might be aware of Spunout, some of you may not, but we're Ireland's youth information and support service. We're well known for our website, spunout.ie, where we have articles and resources that provide information on mental health, but also a lot of different topics. We have an action panel of young people, about 200 young people across Ireland, who advise the work that we do. They kind of tell us what topics we should be writing about and producing content and supports around. And they kind of, so that the things we're producing are relevant. And then we also have Text About It, which is a free 24/7 text listening service for your mental health and well-being. Now, to develop this course, it's the same as developing any of the courses on the platform. We have a kind of quality development process. It involves things like an academic literature review. A lot of our courses, we will run online youth surveys to kind of collect young people's experiences. We'll always run a consultation with our action panel on the topic. Have we work with subject matter experts who will validate our topics, validate the content that we produce so that you know that we're actually making things that are accurate and up to date. So, subject matter experts can be things like people who work in charities related to that specific topic. So, for example, if we were writing content on eating disorders, we would work with an eating disorders charity for validation. But usually it's people with like psychology backgrounds, so clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, research psychologists working in universities, so that you know that you can trust the content. And then finally, we do what's called youth proofing, where young people from our volunteer network will take the course before it goes live and give any of their feedback. And then that's all taken on board. So let's take a look at what the course actually looks like whenever and what the platform looks like. So this little video will show you kind of what to expect. So this is the Spunout Academy platform. Whenever you go on to it, you can kind of scroll down and you'll see our courses, and then you'll see Senior Cycle Skill Builder. So if you click on that, you'll see a page about it. It's got a brief overview. And then when you scroll down to enrollment options, click continue. If you don't have an account yet, you can say create a new account. I already have one, so I just click login. And then this is what the platform looks like. So you'll see each session is broken down into a number of activities. So we have 8 sessions in total. They're all around different topics. So the first one is on kind of that active listening skill. So you'll see a combination of there's some written stuff, there's some explainer videos, some reflective pieces where you can answer questions, take some quizzes. And then we have interviews with experts there. We have an example of active listening in action here. So it really has a combination of different things. So students can move through the activities under the session, whichever session you decide to work through each day. And then that's really how it works. It's very kind of straightforward. Whenever they log back in, they'll be able to pick up where they left off. And as I said, there's 8 sessions in total. At the end, you also get a certificate. So at the end of each section, there's there's a certificate just to show that they have completed work in that area, and that's my certificate there. So to move on from that, I kind of mentioned briefly about bringing the course into the classroom, and we have a resource that kind of helps you do that. So we have it's really simple. It's a PDF. It's called the Senior Cycle Skill Builder Classroom User Guide. I should make that a bit shorter, but it's a guide to help you use this resource with your students, but also to bring it into the classroom. So it contains an overview of each of the sessions in it. So it tells you about each session, and underneath it, it has a series of conversation starters. So if you wanted to have your students working through a session for, say, 25 minutes, half an hour, then you have a series of conversation starters that you can use to facilitate a group discussion based on that session then. So it's a great way to kind of have a kind of hybrid approach where you have this digital tool, but then you're also having real conversations based on the things they're learning within that tool as well. So you can access that on our site. If you're watching this video, this document will most likely be above it or underneath it. I had mentioned the other thing that this document covers is alignment. So it tells you exactly what sessions are aligning to what parts of our course, or what parts of the course are aligning with specific learning outcomes in SPHE and specific requirements under Bí Cineálta. It goes into a lot of detail, but in a general sense, this course is particularly relevant to the health and well-being and the into adult pillars of the SPHE curriculum, covers a lot of the different specific learning outcomes underneath that. And again, that's stepped out in that document. It's also aligned with Bí Cineálta. This has a real focus on preventing bullying behavior. So specifically around the active listening skills and around the active listening skills and the online cyberbullying responding to harm section, particularly relevant to Bí Cineálta as well. Now, how can you get started? So students have this is a free to use platform, completely open to any schools, any learning institutions that want to engage with it. You have two options. Students can always self-enroll, so they can go on, they can make their own accounts, they can enroll in the course, and they can get started that way. It's pretty straightforward. You make an account, you get a confirmation email, you click on the link, you complete your setup, and then you're able to click into an account and kind of go from there. Option two, which is probably more helpful, more relevant to most groups, is you can email me to request a group of or a batch of pre-enrolled accounts. So you can say, I have 30 students in my class. Can I have 30 accounts? And I'll issue you with 30 usernames and passwords that you can then distribute to students. These accounts will be pre-enrolled in the course. They'll be able to log in, click into the account, click into the course, and then they're going to be able to get started. So they don't have to worry about managing anything like that themselves. You also don't have to worry about forgetting passwords and that sort of thing because you're kind of adding it up. And it's also great because students don't have to use their own personal email addresses. So yeah, it's really straightforward to do. Just email myself, let me know how many accounts you would like, and we can issue them. And again, there's no limits on how many accounts you can request. So you could have, if you're emailing from a school, for example, that has 6 classes and you want 120 user accounts, that's no problem. We can issue that. So that's everything really. If you have any other questions, if there's something that wasn't covered in this or something you just want to know more about, you want to see more about the course, you're always welcome to create a user account yourself and go through it in your own time to learn more. But if you have any questions, if you'd like a meeting, to have a call, reach out. You can get me at joseph@spunout.ie. Thanks for watching.